wherever you are in the world. Good day, good people, good day, and welcome to Wow, Wish Only Well Live television broadcast, where I am your host, SherVonne Grose, marriage and family therapist, inspirational coach, and motivational speaker. It is Wednesday, guys. It is a wonderful Wednesday indeed. And you know what we do on Wednesdays, right? We wow. And by wow, I mean to wish only well all across the world. Listen, I'm excited. Every time I get to come before you, I am excited. I am excited about my very special guest that's in the studio with me. She is a co-author of the book, The Inner Strength of a Queen. And so before we come out here to introduce her to everyone, you know how we do it, guys. We have to do justice by properly introducing her. So let me tell you about my special guest who's already in the studio with me today and is ready to get the conversation started. So let me tell you, my special guest today is Diachelle Bell. Diachelle Bell is a woman of God first, as well as a wife and mother. She has an amazing husband and 6 amazing sons. 3 are a bonus. She recently left her job of 12 years to seek God and do ministry full time. She prays that he uses her as only he can and that her actions reveal his glory. She has a podcast that can be heard on Spotify, and her podcast is entitled YouNiquely Flawed, as well as she does live and pre-recorded videos on TikTok. She is known as Lady Di NO3 on TikTok. And you can also find her on Facebook at Diachelle Nicole, and a YouNiquely Flawed group page, which you have to search by the title, as well as YouTube too. She's on YouTube. She has her own YouTube channel now, and I believe that's something new, but you can find her at Diachelle Bell on YouTube. Her passion, guys, is to encourage, motivate, and inspire women. Culture has us believing that we have to look and dress and act a certain way to be accepted. We should actually embrace our flaws, accept what we cannot change, and change what we can. Awesome. That is by Diachelle. Her favorite scripture is Psalms 139 and 14. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. All right, guys, let's welcome to the WOW platform tonight my very special guest, a woman of God, the co-founder of YouNiquely Flawed and the co-author of The Inner Strength of a Queen. Without further ado, let's welcome to the show, Diachelle Bell. Hi, Diachelle. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good, good. Are you ready to get a conversation started? I know
Yes.
we're not going to even focus on what was happening before you even got here, but by
Yes.
God's grace,
You
you are
can tell
here.
that my hair is crooked. Like I'm just trying to get it together, but it's okay. It's
Oh,
okay.
you got it together. Listen, things happen when you have a story to tell, when you're
Yes.
on a mission for God, when things seems to come up and try to come against you to stop you from doing what you've been called to do at this very moment. So I welcome you here to this platform. This is not the first time you've been a special guest here. The last time you were here with the other co-authors of The Inner Strength of a Queen. I am so proud to have you here today. Um, we can talk a little bit about the inner strength of the queen, but I am inner strength of a queen. I am so sorry. And then I'm just so excited because you participated in the online 3-day challenge, Own Your Day challenge. And you were very engaged in that challenge, which helped to make my job easier as the one who was hosting the challenge. So I appreciate your participation on that challenge. So kudos to you. I do hope to bring you and the other ladies on. We got to make sure we can get everybody's schedule together so that we can all appear here together and you guys could share with the audience just how you are intentional about owning your day every day, owning every moment of your day, every day. So listen, but today is not about me and it's not about the Own Your Day challenge. This is your time to shine. So just tell us, Diachelle, how things have been going for you. I've been noticing you on social media, and so you're just popping off with all kinds of new things. I think you recently started, if I am correct, your YouTube channel entitled "Uniquely Flawed." Is that correct?
Well, I didn't just start it.
Okay.
I I guess you would say I'm rebranding it. So
Okay.
I had the page, but I wasn't as active on it. So what I did was I reached out and I was like, "Hey guys, if you can subscribe, so I can get a certain amount, and that way I'm able to actually stream live."
Okay.
So that's what I did. I reached out, and it was an amazing turnout. So I'm happy that I was able to do that.
Good deal. Awesome. So tell us about your brand, Uniquely Flawed. Tell us how that came to be.
I was actually at work one day and I was just thinking of something to do different. It was right before the pandemic hit. And I was like, well, I like to inspire, I like to motivate. And I was trying to think of a name that would describe, pretty much describe how we are, which I feel we are all unique and we definitely all have flaws.
Oh, for
So I
sure.
just branded the name, but I wanted to make it different. So that's why the spelling is YOUNIQUE.
Okay.
So just wanted to be a little different, but it came to me at work. I started it a couple of years ago, and then I just been going with it ever since.
I think it's awesome that you have the YOU that kind of sticks out in it because, when we think about unique, we know the accurate spelling of unique. But when you think of something being unique, it's just may be specific to that one person. And so why not have it uniquely because the
Right.
focus is on that individual, on that person. So I think that's just awesome. So tell us about the awesome things that you're doing with that brand. I mean, I think I've seen t-shirts and you have
Mhm.
apparel, different things. So just tell us, your purpose and your vision behind that particular brand.
Just to be able to get everyone to embrace what is unique about them, just to embrace their flaws. We all grew up with some sort of insecurity, something that makes us uncomfortable or maybe even ashamed. So if we could identify what that is and then embrace it, I think that is what makes it sticks out. So I did start doing t-shirts. That's the newest venture. And then also just with the sayings, the slogans, the um, affirmations, the daily memes and positive inspiration. That's something that I've been doing for a while, but I always wanted to have something actual on shirt, something you can wear and be proud of and just that would stick out and cause people to pay attention to it.
Awesome. Yeah, just beautiful. And I think now is as good of time as any. And well, I would say now is just definitely the time. I've said this before. Now is the time. I am a part of this really awesome group, TSP and Lamar Tyler and his wife, Ronnie, are the founders of the organization. And I really love it because what he says, he often says at the start of the meeting or challenge or whatever we may be. I know at the conferences that I've attended that we are the ones that we've been looking for, right? So there's so much creativity within us as a culture, as a race of people, right? And so it's just amazing to see the different things that are coming out, like how people are coming out with their own businesses. But the reason why I say now is the time for people to be able to embrace their true selves, who they are, right? We hear a lot about people being authentically themselves because we see so much.
Mhm.
Social media in general tends to define what's beautiful, what's successful, and so people get kind of confused. People have some issues a lot of times surrounding that because they feel like they just don't meet the standards. They don't meet up to, like you said, we all have our challenges, we all have flaws, but we are in that respect, in that regard, we're still beautiful in our own way. So
Right.
I think that is awesome that you've come up with this particular brand at this particular time to help people, particularly women, because you've already indicated that that's where your passion lies, and that's where you feel that you've been called to utilize your gift is to
Mhm.
help women. And so, what better time and what better way to be able to do this? Because now, because of social media, there are some good things to social media is that we can reach
Right.
more people by being, on the different sites and being able to encourage people to embrace themselves. So awesome. Just kudos to you. So listen, so I don't know if this was your first book or not,
Mhm.
being a part of the Inner Strength of a Queen, right? It's a book that you co-authored with, I am one of the co-authors as well. But you have a story here that you tell um, in this book. It's definitely a story, but it's a beautiful. I think and it's a story. And I tell you what, you're wanting to give this, and we just had a blackout. I don't know what that was all about, but I know that means that someone really needs to hear about your story. And it is chapter. It is the one, two, three, the fourth chapter in the book, and it is called "Till Death Do Us Part." So, without giving away all the information, in the book, can you tell us first of all, tell us how you decided to pen that chapter? What came out as a result, and you said this is definitely a story that I've got to tell or that I have to share with others.
Well, because in most, well, I guess in society as a whole, when you think about marriage, you have successful marriages, you have marriages that may not be so successful. Most of the time, when a couple divorces, they don't reunite. So for us, in this case, we remarried. We've been married total 3 times. So that's
Wow.
unique in its own, right? To be married 3 different times. And it's really a testimony that you can do it. You know, that if you really work at it and you have God at the center of your marriage, that all things are possible.
Mhm.
And, the first time we got married, God wasn't at the center. The
Okay.
second time, he wasn't at the center. It was more, he was more so in our lives the second time, but the third time when we separated and collectively got ourselves together, on an individual basis, and then brought it back together and did it the right
Mhm.
way, then that's
Mhm.
when we saw the success.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. I've had the privilege of reading the story, and I've read the story more than once. And so it is an inspiring story. And it is a testament to the fact of, if you trust and believe God, that He will work things out. His word tell us that He will work things out for the good of those who love the Lord. And so there
Right.
were some challenges, some adversities that came as you guys worked through, and I would like to say grew through some of the things
Right.
that you had to grow through to get to where you are today. And so,
Right.
how long have you and your husband been married as of today?
Well, we combine it now, so we don't really separate the different times. So it's been about
Awesome.
20 years.
Okay. So you've
Yeah.
been together for 20 years. So, with that comes a whole lot of experience. I like to say this, Stephanie Mills, and I believe I'm correct because I've been saying that, but I believe it's Stephanie Mills
Mhm.
that said in one of her songs that experience is the best teacher, right? It's just something about, I know that you can get it. Me being a marriage and family therapist, of course, we were taught the different theories and the educational piece. So I have the expertise in that area in terms of the educational piece, but
Right.
there's something about when you add that experience to it, so that when people come before me or you to have conversations about issues that they may be having in a marriage, I would imagine that being that you've been married you've been divorced twice, I believe, right? And then married again. So but you divorced twice from the same man and married three times to the same man, right? So I wanted to just, put that out there so people could just understand the awesomeness of your story. So you've been married to the same guy for three times. And so I would imagine that in that period of time that there has been a lot of things that you guys have had to grow through. There were a lot of issues. That brings me to the topic of being able to have this conversation about marriage and what marriage is all about. So, would you agree or disagree that it takes more than love, right, to sustain in a marriage, right, to keep a marriage going?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It definitely take it love, sacrifice, and I guess it's just being able to identify like everything that's needed, right? So we
Mhm.
already know that with God all things are possible.
Right.
And we know that if he is not at the center of your marriage, it's not going to work. It's not.
Hmm. Hmm.
But as like individually you have to be able to come to terms with things and be accountable for things and admit you have to be willing to admit when you're wrong and when you're at fault.
Hmm.
And for me personally, I know a lot of things, and I talk about it on my live too. Is
Hmm.
with women, we have an issue with being submissive. Right. You hear a lot of women saying, I'm not submitting. You can't, ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do. You know, but you
Okay.
have to be willing
Uh-huh.
to allow your husband to lead and trust that he has, everyone's best interest at heart.
Hmm.
He submits to God, we submit to him, right? But if
Hmm.
you're not willing and if you're not receptive and you're not open to be able to do that, then again, it's never going to work. So it takes a lot of learning, and we're still learning. It's still a growing process, but it's been a lot of strides. It's been way more successful than the previous two times.
Hmm. Well, awesome. I think that it's important. We were just talking about how it takes more than love, but I don't want to underestimate that because love is a primary ingredient, if not the main ingredient, of a marital relationship and really of any relationship. But I think that what we can go to the Bible for anything that we need. It is, our roadmap. It is our roadmap. When I say roadmap, I mean our roadmap to life, the road of life, right?
Exactly.
So anything that we need, any problem, any situation that we encounter, we can go to the Bible and there will be a solution. There will be a story or something there that will help guide us through whatever that we are going through. And so we mentioned the word love, and that's something that has been sticking with me for a
Mhm.
few days now. And so I was giving that scripture in Corinthians, and I'm going to go to it because I know what it says. I can summarize it, but I want to be able to read exactly what it is that it says, because I think that if we could do this,
Mhm.
then it teaches us, because the problem is I think that we don't have a very good understanding sometimes of what love really is and what love is all about. And the way that we've gotten to the point in the world today that we've become so accepting of everything, and sometimes we forget um, that we forget matters of the heart, right? Love should is important for any, like I said, any relationship.
Right.
So with that being said, I go to 1 Corinthians 13 verses 4 through 7. It talks about love. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, and always perseveres. And that was read from the New International Version. But again, that's First Corinthians 13, chapter verses 4 through 7. I just think that that's so important to be able to point that out. And I think that anyone that's getting married, that's preparing to marry, and even if you're in a marriage, should just hold tight to that verse and be able to understand that, because there are going to be some things that are going to come up in the relationship, in the marital relationship, that's going to mimic what that verse had already said, what love should be. And so it's a reminder of that. Sometimes we do the opposite of what that verse tells us,
A
right?
lot of times.
Yes, yes. So many times. So if we could just remember that, and you're
Mhm.
right to understand that a marriage is not just about us as individuals
Right.
anymore, because the Bible clearly tells us that we come together and we're joined together
That's
as a
right.
union, as a unity, so we become one, right? And I know that we still have we're still individual persons, but the mindset, right, is
Right.
that we are one. We should be on one accord
Right.
when we come together in marriage. But there are so many different things, right, to that makes for a successful marriage. And you know, you'd already mentioned, like, one of the things is that, you know, sometimes women have a hard time being submissive, but in a Christian built relationship, in a Christian built marriage, a relationship built off Christian views and values, then that's how it is supposed to be.
Mhm.
And so we have love, but I wanted to point out that love is not the only ingredient in a successful marriage. There are other things that we have to be willing to do to
Right.
be able to have a successful marriage, right?
Mhm.
So we talk about the love piece, but there also has to be trust. Um,
Right.
right? And trust has to go both ways. There has to be mutual trust. There's just so many different things that goes into a marriage. And what I've found, one of the biggest issue with marriage is the lack of communication, right? So communication is key in
Yep.
any relationship,
Yep.
but most definitely in the marital
Right.
relationship. Most of the time when couples come to me and I listen to them as they talk and say what the issues are, what they think the issues might be, and I listen for a long time, most of the times, like I would say, about 90% of the problem is a communication issue.
Mhm.
It's lack of communication. For
Mhm.
whatever reason, we sometimes get into these relationships and we feel like we're unable to communicate. We're unable to really say what it is that I want or what it is that I really need. We assume that our partner knows exactly what it is that we need, right? Or
Mhm.
knows exactly what it is that we want, but that's not the case. We
Right.
have to be able to clearly communicate. And when I say communicate, not just about some things, but be able to communicate about any
Everything.
and everything, your
Right.
feelings, the intimacy that's missing or that's needed, whatever it is in the relationship that is actually needed. So there are a lot of things that goes into a play for a successful, that goes into play for a
Yes.
successful relationship. You know, you have love, you have trust, you have honesty, you have mutual respect. All of those things goes a really long way. If you respect the person, if your spouse really respect you, then there's not putting on hands of each other, because there's nothing that can justify a man putting his hand on a woman and vice versa, a
Mhm.
woman putting her hands on. Love
Right.
covers a multitude of things, but physical violence, or you know, any type of abuse, speaking, you know, we, even in communication, we have to be mindful of how we speak to one each other, the tone of voice that we use when
Mhm.
we're communicating. All these things are important, and sometimes we don't do that. We snap, you know, we, and I think sometimes it's not necessarily that it's intentional, but sometimes we become too comfortable. We've been married 20, my husband and I have been married 21 years. You said that you and your husband have been together for 20 years. And so it takes you wanting to keep that marriage exciting, to keep that excitement in there. So to keep that excitement in there, you got to be willing to do some things. It can't always be the status quo like it has always been.
Mhm.
You've changed since the day that you first met.
Right.
Since the day that you said I do, you've grown. And the whole and so if you can keep that line of communication open, and if you can continue to do things together, you grow together, right? That's the whole purpose of making sure you grow together. And once you grow, when you're growing, you're continuing to learn, right? That's the only way you grow, because if you're not learning, right, you're ceasing to exist. So if you're not growing together in this relationship and learning, right, about each other, right,
Mhm.
um, even sometimes it requires us to learn about ourselves. We have to have a self-awareness of ourselves. When we talk about that love, that go back to us needing to make sure that we have that self-love, because that's the first love that we have.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, the first love is the love for God, right? For the Holy Trinity, the God,
Right.
the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. We have to have that, and then have a love for ourselves. Then we will be able to have that love that we need to have as a wife or as a husband, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I could probably go on all day about, because
Mhm.
that's my passion. That's what I do, to talk about marriages and family. Those are things that I hold dearly,
Right.
too. So yeah.
I
So
think
any comments that you want?
although that a lot of things that may have happened in our childhood when we grew up,
Mhm.
sometimes can determine how we respond to different things.
Yeah, for
A lot
sure.
of times, we may take things personal, or
Mhm.
it could be again stemming from childhood and just what
Mhm.
titles and tags may have been placed
Mhm.
on you. And so it's when you're having that conversation,
Mhm.
you may take it a different way than it may be intended. So
Mhm.
that's why the communication piece is important, to be able to
Yeah,
show
for sure.
when you said
Yeah,
this,
for sure.
it made me feel, or
Yeah.
not to live completely in your feelings. So
And to have that communication piece keeps you from making those assumptions that you know why somebody did. When you're having communication, you're not assuming,
right.
because then we were having that dialogue about what it really is, why I am actually the way that I am. And I'm
Mhm.
so glad that you brought that up in terms of marriage and things that have happened in our childhood, because a lot of times we do think we've fallen in love with somebody, and then we say yes, but then what happens after the I do? What's the next part? How do I continue to keep I doing, like, instead of getting to? Because what we're finding at is that we're getting to the point where a lot of people say, I did at first, but I don't anymore. I don't want to anymore. I do, but now I don't. Right. So that's what we're having a lot of. And it's like, we have to work toward that. A lot of times we get into relationship, we get into these marriages, and we're not prepared, because
Right.
we're still trying to deal with stuff that happened to us. And we're bringing that emotional baggage into a relationship.
Mhm.
Right. That's creating a whole problem right there.
Right.
So you're trying to be one with someone, right? You're trying to become whole with the person when you yourself as an individual isn't whole, because you still got a lot of unresolved issues and
Right.
things. And that's not saying that you cannot work through these issues within the marriage, but a lot of people are wondering what's wrong with my marriage. And it's because once you get through that honeymoon phase, that feeling where everything is good, we're just so that marital bliss where we're just in love and everything is all good. And once you get past that honeymoon stage and real life starts to happen, right, then these issues start coming up, and you're wondering, like, what in the world is going on here? I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
This is not what I intended, or this is not what I envisioned. But again, that would be like a whole different conversation that you and I could get into and just really talk to people about that. But yeah, yeah. So, any last words? Any words of wisdom that you want to give? That you want to wow the viewers tonight? Anything that God has placed on your heart? Then please share with the viewers.
I would, well, first, thank you again for having me.
You're
Um,
welcome.
but I would just to stay growing, to stay seeking. Like for me, it's you always, you learn something new every day.
Hmm.
And even if that is something with me that I know I need to work on, right? So I say, God, show me what areas I need to work on. Continue to stretch me and make me uncomfortable. And it is uncomfortable,
Yeah.
especially when you identify things that you personally have to, okay, I know I need to stop doing this, or I know I need to change that.
Mhm.
And I may say, okay, I know what it is. I need to stop. But when that time comes, I'm like, okay, I'm not. I know I'm not. I'm still a little. I need to. I may still be upset. So I'm like, the day might not be the day. So it's like I know that I have to get out of my own way, and I have to
Yeah,
really seek and do the things that I need to do and be
yeah,
obedient so that I can
yeah.
move and elevate to the next level. So
Oh,
I
for
would say
sure.
just continue seeking, continue praying,
Hmm.
continue working your plan, find out what your purpose, what your passion is, pray on it, ask for wisdom, ask for knowledge, ask for discernment, and spend time with them, and then you'll get those answers. But it's work. It's just like we get out here every day and work. The same thing with the marriage or relationship, the same thing with something that you're passionate
Right.
about doing. You have to put
Put the work in. Yeah, for sure. Well, looks like we've had a little glitch in the system that's keeping you from finishing up, but we are out of time. We are almost out of time. So I would like to thank the listeners for and the viewers for joining us on Wild Wish Only Well Live TV with my special guest, Diachelle Bell, co-author of The Inner Strength of a Queen. So please go out and get the book, The Inner Strength of a Queen. And she's also the founder of YouNiquely Flawed. So we're so happy to have Diachelle here. You can follow Diachelle on Facebook, Instagram, and she has her own YouTube under YouNiquely Flawed. So again, guys, that is all of our time. We hope that you will catch us tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Wild Radio Show featuring Ramona Trevino. And we will see you again next week with my special guest. All right, that's it. Goodbye. And remember to wow, wish only well all across the world.